So in this video, I'm going to tell you the one choice that will determine the next 5 years of your life. Now, this one thing you're thinking is probably not what you think. It's probably not going to be like, the push-ups or waking up early or cold showers, whatever. It's something very, very different that you probably never talk about. But before I tell you this one thing, I want to first of all tell you a story. So this was me, 2019. I was, I think I was like, 16, 15, 16, I can't really remember. Around that age range, and as you can see, I look very young here. And at the time, I wasn't really into self-improvement, watching things like that. Like, I was just a young 16 years old kid living, going through my everyday life. I started watching all those type of videos little by little though, but it wasn't anything serious at the time. Maybe every now and then when YouTube will recommend something like to my recommended, I'll watch one episode. But as time went on, the next year, but before I tell you what happened the next year, I just want to say one of the biggest things in our whole self-improvement journey is your mindset, is your mental health. And if your mindset is not in the proper place, you're not always going to do properly. You're not going to do well. You might want to do the right things, you might want to take the right actions, you have good intention, but you cannot just get yourself out of your mind. You cannot just get yourself out of your brain to just finally start putting in the work. And that's why I created the Get Out of Your Mind and Get Back on the Grind program. Basically, it's a program where I teach you like how to get out of your ruts. I show you like from step by step from what to do if you're stuck in your head, you can't take action, you're just always procrastinating. I won't tell you why you fall into the ruts, how to get out of the ruts, and how to never get back. I feel like it's very essential everybody should prioritize, because a lot of times we don't prioritize our mindset, we don't prioritize mental health, we just prioritize like the physical, just do the push-ups or wake up early or whatever. So very, very essential. If you are struggling in a rut now, if you are down, if you are like depressed, whatever, you can't just seem to like start doing what you need to do. Just click the first link in the description. But anyways, to continue with our story. So 2020, this was me. This was the lockdown period and all that, but this was the time that I really got into like the whole self-improvement stuff. So this time I started reading books, started working out. Well, I don't know if you can really tell by the picture, like maybe you can really tell, but I started really working out. Like, this was one of the most consistent in my entire life that I was with like workouts and everything. So I started working out, started reading books like crazy. At the time, like probably this year and like below, I never really read any book if like there was no exam. I didn't see the point in reading book. Like, why would you read a book if you don't have an exam? But at this time in my life, I now started to really like, wow, like I saw the importance of reading books, gaining value, got deep into the rabbit hole of self-improvement, David Goggins, all the motivational guys that were popping at the time. So I was really, really big, and you can imagine what comes with having this level of ambition. Let me see if I can draw. So like being this young kid, my ambition, like I feel like it's around this age range, that's 16, 17, 18, you start to really develop like big dreams. So at the time, my dream, like I started to really get ambitious that I wanted to like drastically change my life. Like next year I want my life to look like this, next year I want to have this type of car, I want to have this amount of money, blah blah blah. And I had the reassurance because pretty much nobody or like everybody that was my schoolmates, or there was lockdown this period anyway, so I didn't really go to school, and I think I had graduated secondary school or high school, depending on the part of the world you live in. So my mindset at the time, especially as I was working out, meditating, reading all these books, doing all these things, going hard, I was like, next year is definitely going to be my year. So imagine like having this level of ambition, I put in all this work, and I was thinking this is what my next year will be like. So obviously the point is not like I'll turn white. I know this guy is a white guy here, but the point wasn't that I'll turn white. It was like I'll be able to buy this type of cars, live this type of lifestyle, just be successful, live the good life. But guess what happened? Can you guess? 2021, and this was me. 2021, I look about the same, right? Still in the same place, living the same type of life, nothing special happened, like basically the same person. So I started to get pissed off at the time, like why come 1 year passed by, having all these ambitions, reading all these books, doing all these things, and yeah, it was 1 year later, nothing. So okay, you know what, next year is going to be this. So as you can see in this picture, this is like a young guy that just bought like some GLE, so some fancy car. So I was like, this is definitely going to be going to grind out, going to do everything right, going to make it, going to blah blah blah. And guess what happened the next year, 2022. But before I tell you what happened the next year, don't forget, once again, go to the first link in the description. Mental health is extremely important. Like, you have to realize that your brain literally controls everything. That's one thing I realized. Your brain controls everything. And the fun things are, some things are so clear and simple, but just because of how distorted our brain is, how distorted our perception is, how distorted our mindset is, we'll just make it more complex than it needs to be. That's one of the reasons why you have to get out of your rut. If you're in a rut, if you're in a bad mental space, you have to get out and get straight into the grind. And that's why I created that program. Like I said, get out of your mind, get back to the grind. Just click first link in the description of this video. But anyways, 2022, same thing. Like, if you can't tell, I don't know if you can tell, but if you notice, like, all these pictures as they progress, my pimples and acne just kept getting worse. So 2022, this was me in my bedroom at the time. So I was wondering, like, why, like, it started to really, don't know, like, it started to make me depressed, because years started passing me by. So this now, it's been like, what, it's been 2 years now, and like I've still not been able to live this type of lifestyle, not even like 10%, not even 1% of this type of lifestyle. So I was wondering, like, what's happening? Like, I'm the self-improvement guy, I've watched all the creators, read all the books, done everything. How come I'm not able to do it? So okay, 2022, 2023, like, definitely going to be it. And also this 2022, there was this long 8-month strike here in Nigeria at the time. So basically, schools, or like 90% of schools, shut down for 8 months. So basically, we're just at home for 8 months. I was like, these 8 months, 100% of the time I'm going to grind, 100% of the time I'm going to do everything. I guess what happened? 2023 came around, and this was very so 2023, and basically I looked exactly the same, right? Nothing much, you know. This time we had gone to like the school. There's this apartment in school, started living in. But basically nothing much. I couldn't buy a Lamborghini Urus. This wasn't me taking a picture of my fancy car. And again, my intention wasn't that I would turn white. But basically, I just couldn't do it. It never happened. And this thing started to really, really weigh me down. So 2023 passed, and 2023 I also turned 20. So at the time I felt like, okay, I've learned all the lessons, I've made all the mistakes. So I basically, like, I don't think it can go any worse. Like, I've basically seen all the worst time, so it's only going to get better from here. So 2024, you know, definitely this is good. Like, this has to be me. I can see this some girl anyway. I'm not a girl, I'm not a chick. But she's in a fancy AMG that she just bought, you know, living the good life, successful, blah blah blah. That was always the goal. So 2024 comes around. This is very good. As you can see, 2024. 2024 comes around, nothing changed. Like, basically the exact same thing. Ignore this left behind. It was for like a thumbnail I did, that's why I put the right thing there. But basically, get the point. This was me sitting here, you know, I'm looking sad and all that. So at this point, 2024 was just last year, and it was like, at this point I didn't even know what to feel anymore. Because before, like, this, normally when I'll feel from year to year, I'll feel like anger, disappointment, rage, you know, whatever. Like, how come 1 year passed by and nothing has changed? And now it's like 4 years of the same cycle happening over and over and over again, and I didn't even really know what, like, there was no feeling attached to it. It was just numbness at this point. Like, so this is my life now. So this is really my life. So 2024 I also made a bunch of stupid mistakes, did like a lot of stupid things, and like, it was really sad at the time. So I was like, you know what, similar, even though I said, you know, I feel like I've learned it all. Funny thing is, 2024, I'm like, a lot of mistakes, a lot of lessons I learned in 2023. I had to like relearn it in 2024 to really like seal the deal down. So I was like, you know what, I feel like I failed enough, learned everything. 2025, 100% going to be our year. 2025. So this is modern day 2025. Okay, this picture was taken a few months ago anyway, but basically this is me. As you can see, I still don't have any fancy AMG or GLE or GT3 RS or any fancy car. I'm not living a luxury lifestyle. Yeah, I'm sitting on the grass and smiling at the camera. I think I was recording a music video this day at the time for this picture. But basically this is present day. And when I sat down to reflect on these last 5 years, like, why? Like, how come from being this young, ambitious kid with this type of wild dream to achieve everything, how come 5-6 years later, I still like I'm just this guy. And the thing is that I did all the right things. Like that's the thing, like wake up early, as if you can see the time, it's 5:40. So wake up early, meditate, journal, exercise, like all the self-improvement habits, done everything, done it all, read all the books, watched all the videos, like how come there was no change? The thing I didn't realize at the time, there was one key thing that was missing, especially when I reflect back. I look at this like years and look at the seasons that I was most consistent in. I started to realize that I started to notice some patterns. So, especially like this, where is it? This one? And I was most consistent, like working out. Like there was certain patterns, certain flows I didn't realize at the time, but obviously I started to reflect, I started to observe it. Because and it seems to be very discouraging because you look at your so-called friends or your peers, they basically do none of these things. Literally none of all these things here. They do none of it. They don't wake up early, they don't meditate, they don't journal, they don't sit down to reflect, they don't exercise, they don't stay away from like stupid videos on the internet. They're all looking for hot water to bathe. They're not grateful, they don't read anything, they're like overstimulated. Nothing, basically, literally nothing. So it's like, how come these my friends or my peers, they don't do any of these things and they're making 10 times more progress than me that does all this? But it was then I realized that there's one important thing I was missing out on. Very, very important. So it's basically made the whole last 5 years or 6 years just loop. And can you guess what that thing is? You probably won't be able to guess, but let me just reveal it. That one thing isn't necessarily any of all these habits. That one thing is the daily routine. I know it sounds it's my tough. I know I hyped it up so much that now that year it's just like, fuck is wrong with you, bro? But the point is like this literally determines everything. This daily routine is everything. I didn't realize it at the time because yes, I did all these habits, but they were not really part of my daily routine, or they were only part of it for a while. So let me explain how this daily routine works. Like your day-to-day life, you wake up and you have a certain, like, it's almost like your brain and your subconscious and your body has programmed itself to behave in a certain way. So for example, you wake up at maybe 6 a.m., 6:30, 7 a.m. You get ready, you go to school or you go to work, whatever. You spend the whole day there, maybe you come back like 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., whatever. Come back home in the evenings, go and eat like dinner, eat some food, whatever. Carry your phone and scroll, or you watch TV, whatever you choose to do, and you go to bed. And you wake up the next day, I repeat the same thing, and each day is pretty much exactly the same, with just slightly different variation. Maybe, okay, tomorrow you wake up by 7, maybe next tomorrow you wake up by 6, whatever. But basically, like every day is always like that, and that's the danger there, because if you don't curate this daily routine to the way you want it to be, if you don't create this daily routine to like what is going to actually benefit you, I tell you, like 5 years will loop past you, and you always have all these big dreams and big ambitions, like, oh, I want to buy this fancy car, I want to live this type of lifestyle, I want to make this much money, I want to see this much success, and it's just pass you by, and basically 5 years later you'll still be like this. You'll still be like this. But at least I know, like, I've learned all this sense now, so hopefully 2026 will be buying the AMG, like we'll buy a fancy car. But basically, if you are not able to use this daily routine to your advantage, 5 years will pass you by and you will literally have nothing. So how do you like create this daily routine? So as you can see here, this is like a picture of me creating daily routine. Since you can do this in your calendar. Let me see if I can pull the calendar up. So you can go to like today, for example, you can go here and like create I don't know, I think it's Google Calendar that is better at doing it. It's like Samsung Calendar or something like that. But basically you can put like all the activities you want to do throughout the day, like create it in your schedule, your calendar. I think they also use like Notion or something like that. But basically me, I usually like using my own like manually, I write it down on pen and paper. As you can see, this is like a daily routine I created for myself during this phase of my life. So this was like sleep from, I don't know, 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or whatever, wake up by 5 a.m. to 7, I was like walk in the poultry or whatever. 7 to 9 I'll do fowl. 9 to 10 I'll clean up. 10 to 11 I'll what do I can write here? I'll cook or find, well, I don't know, basically 11 to 12 eat, 12 to 1 sleep, 1 to 2 go and do work, 2 to 4 I'll prepare to go back home, 5 or go back to school rather, 5 to 6, go back to school, 6 to 7, record videos, 7 to 8, cook, 9, and so on and so forth. So basically this is like a daily routine I created, and that's the thing you actually want to do. You want to like be intentional with your day-to-day activities, because like your brain automatically runs on like activity, like your brain is automatic, it already has like a default programming that has been installed in you from years of just existing. So by default you have like behavior, you have like the life you live. So even if you have no plan, no agenda for the day, you notice that you're still going to follow a particular pattern. Literally, you can go nowhere, be influenced by nobody, be living by yourself, and you will still follow a particular pattern, because that programming, that routine is installed in your brain. But you want to be if you're not intentional with this thing, your brain is always going to do like the random thing, which is like, you wake up whenever, you grab your phone, you scroll on the internet, you watch TV, you eat some food, come back from school or from work, you whatever, watch TV again, and before you know it, the day has gone, the next day will start, and basically exactly the same thing. So you want to be intentional with it. But I will notice there's something more powerful than doing this. So basically, create a schedule like this. So you write out all the hours of the day, or you can use your phone or your laptop, whatever. Just assign each block of time a task. Like as you can see here, I said, this is like the whole night till 5 a.m. I should sleep. At 5 to 7, I'll wake up early and go and pack shit. That's what I receive. Yeah, just ignore that. Then 7 to 9, I'll go and do foul. 9 to 10, I'll clean up. So basically, I want to do the exact same thing. But one thing that I notice is much better than this, because like I said, your brain is already running on a natural programming. So like when you wake up, from the moment you open your eyes, you gain consciousness. So when you go back to bed, especially if there's no influence on you, like you basically just have your own free will, your brain is running on a programming. Like your brain already knows what it's going to do, and a lot of times those things are not things that are going to help you, unfortunately. So trying to create this, trying to stick with this, like it's going to be hard at first, because you like have to like undo your brain's natural programming to like reinstall this one, to get used to this one. Like this has to be like a habit. But sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you'll easily be able to do it, but sometimes you might not be able to do it well. So I found out something that even works better than that, and that's simply to add the habits you want to do to the natural occurrences. So what do I mean by that? So this is like an example list I wrote here. Let me see if I can make myself smaller a little bit. Let me get rid of this keyboard. Okay, there we go. So instead of like trying to just change everything, for example, let's assume you wake up maybe, let's say 6:30 normally on an average day. Instead of trying to change it from 6:30, which will be around here, to like 5 a.m. for example, it might be hard for your brain to like stick with it. You start to procrastinate, to be hard to stay consistent or whatever. What you can do is still wake up at 6:30, but you assign like a task to what is going to happen by default. So for example, you can wake up, like when you wake up, you assign the task workout. So your brain, like you just know, because you are inevitably going to wake up, like that's except you are going to die, but by God's grace, you're not going to die. Wake up and see tomorrow. So immediately you wake up, you go and start working out straight away. So it's like it's something that is already tied to your natural behavior. You know that let's say I wake up, like I'm always going to wake up. So once I wake up, it's workout time, and it's easier to stay more consistent like that, because like waking up is like a natural thing. You're not like forcing it. So yeah, I didn't put a specific time, but basically that's what helped me this 2020 period. When I started working out, I was able to work out like the most consistently in my life. It was like basically just that I created the habit that immediately I woke up, straight working out immediately. And at the time also, living in like an African household like this, you really don't have that much, like once you wake up, especially if everybody's awake, you can't really do things you want to do again. So I took it a step above that. I'll now wake up like an hour earlier, 2 hours earlier, so I'll have all the time in the world to work out and basically do whatever I wanted to do. But basically, as you can see, immediately wake up, you work out. So that's always going to be 100 times more productive than trying to force this, because you might do this today and maybe tomorrow, but for the next 2 weeks, your body will just go back to the default, wake up whenever, eat whatever and do whatever. So basically, you want to just take advantage of your natural programming already. So another one I wrote here is if you want to like listen to audiobooks more, for example. So like sit down and just play an audiobook is kind of boring. It's something you are high chance not going to do because it's not part of your natural programming. But what you can do is when you get in the car, when you get in the bus, you can then play the audiobook, because inevitably if you are like going to school or to work or whatever, you are always going to get in the car always going to get in a bus, always going to get in some sort of vehicle. So you play the audiobook there, and it's like it becomes an automatic thing because it's like inevitably you're going to enter a bus, inevitably you're going to enter a car. So it's like it's just part of like your programming already. You're just like building on top of the infrastructure that is there, rather than trying to create a brand new one from scratch. Not to say this one also absolutely works. Like this is good, but just that sometimes this is hard for your body to adapt to because your body is used to basically living like an idiot. So trying to create this brand new one for you to follow is not like if you do it maybe for a few days, a few weeks, few months, it will start to become natural. But sometimes that's not always the case for everybody. So if you can do something like this, much better. Another example I wrote here is if you want to listen to podcasts more often or watch educational videos more often. Obviously, some people it's like hard to like just sit down and play a podcast or just sit down and watch some educational video. So what you can do is as you're walking, you play it on your phone, you listen to it with your earpiece or your AirPods or whatever. And the thing is that inevitably you're going to walk. Inevitably you're going to like move around, you're going to go to school or to work or whatever, you're going to go somewhere. I'm going to be walking. So instead of just blasting music, playing random music, you listen to the podcasts and audiobooks or educational videos, whatever. Another one I wrote here is like eating and reading a book. Inevitably, you're going to eat throughout the day. You will eat some food. Like that's like guaranteed. So when we're eating, why don't you just add something that we won't really do, which is reading a book. So that 10, 15, 20 minutes you read a book. Because if you just say read a book, the chance of you just actually sitting down to read is like almost impossible. You're not really going to do that. The other one is then prayer and then sleep. So maybe you want to get more consistent in praying. You're inevitably going to always sleep. Like sleeping is like you're going to sleep basically. So you just add prayer before sleep. Another one is studying while you take a shit. So inevitably you're going to go to the toilet and take a shit. That's guaranteed. That's like human. You're supposed to do that. So instead of just sitting around in the toilet and letting that time while away or spending it on your phone or whatever, if you can use that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes to like read or to study or whatever, like that's inevitably going to happen. Because I guarantee you, like to just sit down and study without any external influence is like almost impossible. But while you're taking a shit for that 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, however long you spend it, I don't know why you spend that long. But I do spend that long anyway, but you study. So basically this is just like an example of what I'm trying to like. When you do all this, that natural programming is going to keep running by itself. It's continue to run by itself forever and ever. Like it's just that's going to run much more effectively than this. So instead of trying to like destroy that old one and stack on this new one and all that, that could work as well if that works for you. Very good. But for a lot of people, I've noticed as if they just had like all these habits with things they already do, rather than trying to just create something brand new from scratch. This is what is going to work. So but anyway, that's like the one thing. So like if I could go back to seeing this me, this was me 2020 with all the big ambitions and goals and everything. Then 2 years later, I was feeling depressed and sad that 2 years has passed me by. I'm still poor. I'm still, I still have all these pimples on my face, whatever. I'll tell them not to like stress about it too much. Like you're not really doing anything wrong. Obviously, you're doing a lot of things wrong, but like what you need isn't, more push-ups or more journaling sessions or more, cold showers or more reading more books. What you need is to just find a way to make your daily routine work for you. Is to find a way to make your daily life, the things you do on a daily basis, actually be able to build up and stack up. And one of the easiest ways you can do that is to just carry all these habits that are going to move you forward to your goals, like the working out or the working out or the cold showers or the working on your business or your side hustle or your passion or whatever. And just find a way to add it to like the natural things you already do. Like if you can do it, you're like a lot more likely to stay consistent. When I look back on my life, all the periods over this course of 5 years that I was the most consistent, it was pretty much always when it was tied to like a natural habit. It was really like this worked sometimes, this also worked sometimes as well. Not to say it didn't work at all, but it's just this wasn't sustainable. Usually this maybe a few days, few weeks max, you stick with this and inevitably you fall off. But when you add it to something that you already do, like you are inevitably going to stick with it. So that's the one choice that will determine the next 5 years. The one choice that will simply determine the next 5 years, in summary of everything I said, is your daily routine. So you want to make sure you're very, very careful, and you don't want your body to just do it by default, because trust me, whatever your body is going to do is just going to be comfort seeking, just something that will not move you closer to the goals you want. And I know you're a very ambitious person if you're watching this video. But to click on this type of video, watch it this long, like you want to be like me, like you want to buy this AMG, right? You want this type of car. So anyways, like I said earlier before, one of the things that's going to help you actually stay consistent, one of the things that's going to help you actually be able to take action on all this is your mindset. If your head is not in the right space, if you're depressed, or if you feel like you're stuck in a rut and you're just in your bed all day and binging all these like self-improvement videos or whatever, you're not going to make any progress. Like you have to get out of your mind, you have to get out of your brain, like you have to get back into that mindset, into that state of being like emotional, being active, or being able to do the things that'll get you there. And that's why I created this program, once again, going to help you do just that. I've listed everything, like I literally broke it down step by step, from what is a rut, why you won't fall into the rut, how to get out, how to never fall back into one, and so much more. And also, if you get this, like I have 2 bonus programs there. The first one is the workout routines. Basically, workout routines will help you stay consistent, because one of the things that's going to help you get out of your rut and all that is being physically active, working out. So that's one of the things that really helps me. Like it's working out is not just for your muscles. People think it's just for like your big muscles and whatever. It's more than that. I think when you work out, it releases like serotonin or something like that. Serotonin, which is basically feel good chemical. So basically, like it's almost like inevitable. Anytime you hit a workout session, you're always going to feel good afterwards, no matter how sore you feel. Like it's always very good. So working out, my workout routines are there. The ones and they are basic, like easy to follow, so not too complex that you want to die, but not too easy that you'll see no progress. So easy to follow, 100% solid. Click that first link in the description. Also, just my creative process. If you want to make YouTube videos as well, like all these years I've been making YouTube videos now for the last 5-6 years. If you want to do the same thing, just click the first link in the description. Anyways, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.